welcome back to my channel. My name is Kelsey and welcome to finishing a series. So this is a series I started on my channel last year where I tried to finish series. I have a lot of series on my TBR. One of my bad habits is to buy all the books in a series and never finish them. So this month we will be reading the Dreamer trilogy by Maggie Stiefvater. This is the companion series to the Raven Boys, and the first book was Call Down the Hawk. It's somewhere in my pile of like read books since I moved out and have not put on shelves, so it's somewhere there. I'm not gonna get it, but Maggie Stiefvater has so kindly put a summary of what Call Down the Hawk is on her blog, and I really need this because when did I read Call Down the Hawk? I read Call Down the Hawk in 2019. That is almost 5 years ago when I read it, so I think it's about time that we finish this series. So Call Down the Hawk was the first book in the Dreamer trilogy. So the book focuses on the orphaned Lynch brothers. So we have Ronan, who is a main character from the Raven Boys series. He is the brother that can pull things out of dreams, which is crucial to the Raven cycle. We have his older brother Declan and then his younger brother Matthew. There will be spoilers, I hope you know, for the Raven cycle and then also Call Down the Hawk. In this series, Ronan is both dangerous and dying because of his ability to pull things out of his dreams as he attempts to follow his high school boyfriend Adam to college. When his uncontrollable dreaming prevents this future in anguish, Ronan kicks off the series of events that will eventually lead to all the characters facing the end of the world as they know it. Before the events of the Raven cycle, Niall, who is their father, was beaten to death in his own driveway after living a life of crime and selling dreams on the black market. Declan, the older brother, knew about this, but Ronan and Matthew didn't. When Ronan's father dies, Aurora, which is their mother, entered this unshakable sleep. So throughout the entire Raven Cycle series, she was asleep and then dies on the ley line. And we know why she's asleep, and it has relation to Ronan and Niall, who have the powers to pull things out of dreams. So something that we learn in this series is that Matthew, which is Declan and Ronan's younger brother, isn't exactly a real person. Ronan created Matthew in his dreams and then pulled him out to have a little brother. And that's exactly what Niall did with Aurora. He pulled a perfect wife out of his dreams and had their children. So really the only like real people are Niall, who's not alive, Declan, and Ronan. So Ronan is becoming increasingly unstable and he needs to manifest his dreams regularly so that they don't get out of hand. In this series, there are a group of people called the Moderators who want to hunt the dreamers. They want to hunt these people who are able to pull things out of dreams. They're essentially trying to stop an apocalypse from happening with these dreamer people. Within the Dreamer series, we are following a group of characters. Carmen, who is part of the Moderators because her brother Nathan killed her parents with a dreamed weapon. So he is like a magical serial killer. And so Carmen is very against the dreamers in general. Then we have Adam, obviously, who is Ronan's boyfriend. Bride first comes to Ronan in the dream space, manifesting only as a voice, but he knows a lot about being a dreamer and about being Ronan, interested in all the ways the world is trying to break dreamers and dreams. I believe that he is one of the dreamers that the Moderators are hunting. Then we have Declan, and he's a part of this like crime life, much like his father, but he doesn't have the ability to dream like Ronan does, and so he's really trying to protect Ronan from this environment. And we have Hennessy, and she is also a dreamer. We find that out in Call Down the Hawk as well. And then obviously we have Ronan. Sorry, I'm like reading this out loud and talking to you because I need to also understand what I'm getting into. As the Moderators circle closer together and they corner Hennessy and Ronan, the two extremely messed up dreamers call for Bride in a dream. They also dreamed a matching pair of swords, and then when Ronan and Hennessy wake up, Bride sweeps them off into a dreamed hoverboard kind of thing, and they won't return until they have solved the problems with the Moderators. So at the very end of the book, we have reached this like climax between Ronan, Hennessy, and the Moderators. The next book that I will be reading is Mr. Impossible, and on the front cover we have Ronan and Hennessy. Although I don't like this name at all, I will be continuing this series to get to Grey Warren. This is such a much cooler cover, a much cooler name. Let's start with Mr. Impossible and we'll see where the series takes us. Hello, so you're carefully balanced on a candle, my water bottle, and my phone for a makeshift tripod, but I have gotten about 100 pages into Mr. Impossible, so I did want to go over my thoughts before we continue on in the book. I forgot how good Maggie Stiefvater's writing is, and I should have not, because like I just remember loving the Raven Boys, so obviously I would love it, but I think Call Down the Hawk was such a drastically different book from the Raven Boys and I read it too close to the Raven Boys that I don't remember loving it as much. I do remember giving it 3.5 stars. Now, was that due to expectations? Was that due to the quality of the book? I obviously don't remember, but this one has been so good so far despite the name that I still can't get over. But let's talk about what's going on in the book. We have Carmen, who is chasing down Ronan and Hennessy, obviously. Carmen has a horrible memory of her brother who was a dreamer, but he was also a serial killer. However, Carmen has construed the two to mean that dreamers are going to end the world, or they're going to cause some sort of apocalyptic event, but just basically that the dreamers are the bad people, not the moderators, right? This is due to the fact that her brother had serial killer, well, not tendencies, because he did kill people, but she's construed that dreamers equal bad people because of her brother. We're learning a bit about Jordan Hennessy, basically about how she has multiple versions of herself out in the world, and Jordan is Hennessy really is encountering these situations where she meets people who know her clones and not her, but these clones are obviously not real, but Hennessy has this hold on them that they are like her sisters, essentially. Jumping in with this point, we jump into Matthew and Declan's perspectives, who are Ronan's brothers. And Matthew is really feeling this existential crisis. He now knows, obviously, that he is a dream. He's made from dreams, and that he can really perish at any point if Ronan gets hurt. And he mentions how even just the swaying of the ley line really affects him. He becomes really sleepy. He is not surviving at his own sort of will, basically. So he's really going through this existential crisis, but in a 12-year-old body. And I just think it's so cute and charming because obviously at the farm that the brothers grew up, there's a lot of animals that are there that are made of dreams. Ronan has created a lot of them, and Matthew refers to them as his siblings. So I just think it's so cute, the innocence of this child trying to contemplate who he is, what he is. He mentions a lot about how Aurora wasn't even their mother. Declan's not really his brother. When yes, they are, right? Because they grew up together. They were still a family, but Matthew's really going through this struggle. And then we have the chapters with Ronan, Hennessy, and their teacher captain guy named Bride, and he's teaching them lessons on how to survive as dreamers, and they are being followed by the Carmen and the moderator plotline. Ronan and Hennessy are learning how to control their dreams, how to be more responsible with what they pull out of the dreams, because obviously we know from the Raven cycle that Ronan was doing things at whim and not really remembering what he was pulling out of the dreams. So this has been really, really interesting. I am really liking this. I think the plot is really engaging just because we have this chasing, we have the more calmer chapters from Hennessy's past, from Carmen's perspective, and from Matthew and Declan's perspective. At this point, I think all the characters are going to come together because Declan and Matthew are making their way to Boston, and I have a feeling that that is due to something that Ronan has told them. So we're gonna see where the story goes. I'll probably update you at the 200 page mark. Me again. Also, I just want to say, if I didn't say it before, because I really can't remember because I'm so sleepy, I don't trust Bride. I do not trust this man. I feel like he's manipulative. I feel like he's using Ronan and Hennessy in a sort, but Ronan's obviously the more powerful one, for nefarious means. I do not trust him. I really think he's being manipulative. Hello, it's a new day. Please ignore my fridge in the background. She's just a guest star in these videos, and I must let her speak in the background. But I did get to page 206 in Mr. Impossible, and I'm really, really loving this. I made some errors before. Jordan is a copy of Hennessy. So Jordan is having her own storyline. And what I'm really, really enjoying is that she's bonding with Matthew because they are both creations of their respective dreamers. So Matthew's Ronan, Jordan is Hennessy, and they bond over this sort of connection that they have. And I'm really, really appreciating that. I think it's so sweet. Matthew is such a sweet character. Definitely my favorite character of the book. Usually I really, really enjoy, obviously, Ronan because he's broody and a baddie, and I love that. And Declan for the same exact reasons. But Matthew is just such a breath of sweet, fresh air to this little family. And his existential crisis is so relatable. Were there to be dreamer characters in the world, I feel they would think Matthew is thinking. So I think that's really interesting. Carmen is the member of the moderators, as we've said previously in this vlog. And I think that she is also going through her own sort of existential crisis because she is slowly realizing that the moderators are not the good people. Just because her brother was a bad person and a bad dreamer doesn't mean that all dreamers are bad. And she's slowly realizing that perhaps the group that she's a part of isn't exactly taking things into their own hands in the most realistic way. And then obviously we have, surprisingly, the plotline that I don't really care about the most, which is the Ronan, Hennessy, and Bride plotline. I don't like Bride. I'm very suspicious of him. I know that he's teaching Hennessy and Ronan to like be their own people and work with this dreamer role that they have, especially Ronan. Ronan is way more connected to the ley lines. They mention a lot about Grey Warren, which is the third book, and I believe that that will be Ronan's role, but it's the least exciting plotline to me. Like when I'm in those chapters, I don't really care, and I don't know why, because I'm obviously very interested in the magic system because I really like this series. This is the chapters where the magic system is expanding. There's some sort of mystery there because Ronan can feel his magic deteriorating because of the ley lines. Hennessy is struggling with individuality when compared to her clone sisters. Bride is this very mysterious character that knows a lot about dreams, but is sort of teaching Ronan and Hennessy in this more reflective way. So you would think I would enjoy it more, but I don't. They're my least favorite chapters. I'm going to continue this because I only have about 100 pages left. Let's see when this book ends. So yeah, 340. So I think I'm just going to update you at the end and let you know my full thoughts for the book, but that's where we're at with the plot so far. Hello, I just need to vlog this for my future self because this is like a monumental thing that I'm not going to see until I'm like probably 90 again. Kelsey, in 2024, there was the total eclipse happening. Montreal, we see it perfectly. So I wanted to monument this. I don't think I'll get it on film. Obviously, I can barely see if I'm looking at the camera right. So enjoy the total eclipse future Kelsey. I mean, past Kelsey. Darkness. Hello, I just got home from hanging out with my friends, went out for dinner, we had a bottle of wine. It was very nice, and just in general, you know, nice to complain with your friends. I have about an hour left on listening speed on the audiobook for Mr. Impossible, and it's only like 9:45, so I definitely think I could finish it tonight. So I will be getting to that right away, and I'll probably update you tomorrow when I'm done. Hello, I know I said I was going to update you tomorrow, but I just finished Mr. Impossible. It's only 10:55. I have plenty of time to start Grey Warren tonight, so I need to get into my thoughts right away because I'm freaking out. The ending, first of all, my prediction about Bride, although I was semi-correct in my prediction to be suspicious of him, I did not expect the ending. I won't get into spoilers because I just think that not knowing what happened drove me up the wall. I'm so surprised by the twists and turns that this book got, but let's get into my like overall review of the book. Needless to say, I gave this 4.5 stars. I realized over time that I'm such a middle book girl that especially when it's done good, I am obsessed. As usual, Maggie Stiefvater's writing in this book was phenomenal, stunning, amazing, show-stopping. I had forgotten a little bit how melancholy and lyrical her prose is, but I was just so enamored with this and it completely pulled me in that despite the like very little plot that went on in this book, I loved it. For a book with such a lame title, I really cannot believe how invested I was. I care so much at this point about Ronan and his brothers that I was on the edge of my seat with concern, especially for Matthew. The chapters that follow Jordan, Hennessy, and Carmen, I've already mentioned this in this vlog, they don't completely pull me in or enamor me, or I think it's mostly just because I don't particularly care about these characters because I'm so invested in the Lynch brothers. I've been with them for such a long time, but I really appreciated how Stiefvater wrapped up the ending and weaved these two stories together that made me care about what's going to happen in the next book to Jordan and Carmen. So that means let's move right away into Grey Warren. I'm going to start the audiobook for this right now. I'm so obsessed. I'm so happy I'm finishing this series. I put it off for too long. And I'm here, I'm invested, I'm ready. Hello, so last night I did get almost 100 pages into Grey Warren because obviously I'm just flying through the series. So what is mostly going on in this book is there's a lot more talk about the sweet metals, which isn't something I spoke about a lot in the previous book just because I didn't really understand them that much and I was just along for the ride. The sweet metals, from what I understand, are protecting the beings that are created from dreams. So right now, Jordan is awake because Hennessy is awake and we know this. She's with Carmen, vibing, painting, living her best life. And then we also have Matthew, who did faint when Ronan came to the understanding of where he was, what he was doing at the end of the last book. However, because he has a sweet medal from Declan went through the ends of the earth, as any older sibling would do. I know the feeling, to save Matthew and keep him awake so that he's able to like get an education, be a normal kid. And we already know that Matthew's really struggling with his identity and struggling with understanding what he is. So Declan, I think, is doing the best that he can. He loves his brother, he wants his brother to stay awake, but doing the best that he can to kind of give Matthew this like more normal life. Interspersed within these chapters of the overall plot between Carmen's situation, Declan's situation, Ronan is asleep and he is traveling through, I guess, people's dreams or more memories in the dream state to see what is going on with the people that he loves, checking in on Adam, checking in on Declan and Matthew, and sort of understanding the lengths that Ronan has gone to in order to save Matthew. So what we're really understanding now, Bride and Ronan are a lot closer related than we originally thought. I don't want to spoil it too much, but they are a bit more closely related than we originally thought. And Bride is there to manipulate the situation in a more negative way, releasing this sort of like apocalyptic understanding in order to save Matthew. And there's a passion there to save Matthew and to save the other beings that are created by dreamers, whether it's on purpose or by accident, but because they are, or they become real people and they deserve to live, which I don't think is a wrong way of looking at it. Carmen, coming from a more moderator perspective, we saw in the last book that she shifted beliefs, really finds that yes, there is this issue with the dreamers and causing the apocalypse or whatever it could be. This is still not the solution. Also, at the end of the last book, we saw that Hennessy was able to put this lace over the ley lines, and by doing so, a lot of dream people have fallen asleep, and that is why the sweet metals are being used to keep both Jordan and Matthew awake. Carmen was led to a like storage unit and found the team of her moderators completely asleep within the storage unit, meaning that all of them were dreams. And when they were stopping the dreamers, did they know that they could have potentially ended their own lives as things created from dreams? Or were they not aware and they're working for someone else, but this someone else is using dreamers to combat dreamers? I don't know, but that is where we are at the current state of the book, and I will continue listening to it. I just finished editing my Dark Prophecy vlog, which is now live on my channel, so I have time now to listen to this, and I will see you later. Hello, I just took an after work funky drink and I wanted to give an update before it hits. I got to page, let's see, 197 in Grey Warren last night, and the saddest thing happened. I don't want to spoil it because I actually think that it was such an impactful thing to happen. I don't really want to talk about it, but just know that I'm devastated. But other than that, if I'm being honest, I'm not 100% sure that there is more of a concrete plot in this. Like, yes, in Mr. Impossible, there wasn't really a plot either. So I think I'm going to wait until I'm like almost in the book to really formulate my thoughts. But as of this current moment at page 200, we're really just diving into more of the psyche of the characters, and specifically Ronan, because he's jumping from like psyche to psyche to really understand his brothers, Adam, the people around him. We're also learning more about Carmen's character, and we learned who's been controlling the moderators, and that was another crazy spoiler. So I'm going to refrain from really spoiling the plot because I think like for a third book, Maggie Stiefvater is not holding any punches, and it's her world and we're just all living in it. So I think what I'm going to do is probably not update you until the end of the book where I have my final thoughts, but the stories are sort of blending together. The accumulation of what has happened for 3 books is happening. Like I said, I'm excited to see how this develops, how it goes on, how it ends. I'm really hoping I enjoy the ending just because I really want to enjoy this entire series. So even if it's like a 4-star or higher, I'm gonna be so happy. We're at the end of the vlog and the end of my experience with the Dreamer trilogy. So let's wrap up my final thoughts on Grey Warren and how I felt about the series in general. I have so many thoughts on Grey Warren, this finale, and I feel like I would really need to reread the series in order to wrap my head around what I experienced here. Steve Otter played so much with her writing in this one, and it was really used, I think, in a good way to convey the way the characters were feeling. Like, there were a couple of chapters like this that were used to convey Ronan's mental health. And he's just constantly asking whether he's dreaming or awake. He can't like disengage with the two. And I thought that the way Maggie Stiefvater was testing the limits with how annoying repeating a sentence could be really conveyed the mental instability that Ronan was dealing with. The relationship with the brothers, I think, is very clear throughout this entire vlog, was one of my favorite aspects of the series and of this book as well. I really enjoyed how it was explored in this one, mostly because Ronan is asleep for the majority of this book. So a lot of the relationship is explored between Declan and Matthew. And I really liked how Steve Otter was mirroring this relationship between Declan and Matthew to the relationship that Declan experienced with his own father. She also really played with religious symbolism in this one, and I adored that. If you know anything about me, you know I love religious symbolism in books, and how this played into Ronan's own relationship with his parents. I was just really into those chapters, and I really wish we dove more into that. I think this is probably my main complaint for this book. Steve Otter really tried to put too much into this book, and while it was all super interesting, all super engaging, it was brushed over so quickly, and I wish we spent more time on it. I wish there was more pages or maybe a fourth book in the series to really flesh out these relationships. And because of that, I feel like there would have been such a stronger ending. I just feel like the ending in this one was rushed. So I ended up giving this one 4 stars. It wasn't as strong to me as Mr. Impossible, but definitely on par with Call Down the Hawk. Overall though, I was clearly enjoying my time with this trilogy. I love the Lynch brothers, so I really hope that I can reread this series, the Raven Cycle series, completely from front to back, so I can get more out of the experience and more out of the themes that Maggie Stiefvater is presenting in these novels. And that's it. Thank you for coming on this journey with me once again to finish a series and get them off my shelves. If you like this video, if you like this journey, I always leave a link down below to my Twitter, Goodreads, and Instagram if you would like to follow me there. And of course, because it is the end of the video, please do not forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. It does wonders for my channel, makes me feel really good. And that's it. I never know how to end these things, so I will see you next time. Okay, bye!